The rage of Madame Duval, the astonishment of Monsieur Du Bois, and the angry interrogatories of Mr. Branghton on one side, and the convulsive tittering of the sisters, the loud laughs of the young men on the other, occasioned such noise, passion, and confusion, that had any one stopped an instant on the stairs, he must have concluded himself in Bedlam. At length, however, the father brought them to order, and, half laughing, half frightened, they made Madame Duval some very awkward apologies; but she would not be prevailed upon to continue her narrative, till they had protested they were laughing at the Captain, and not at her. Appeased at this, she resumed his story, which, by the help of stuffing handkerchiefs into their mouths, the young people heard with tolerable decency. Everybody agreed that the ill usage the Captain had given her was actionable, and Mr. Branghton said he was sure she might recover what damages she pleased, since she had been put in fear of her life. She then, with great delight, declared that she would lose no time in satisfying her revenge, and vowed she would not be contented with less than half his fortune. "For though," she said, "I don't put no value upon the money, because, Dieu merci, I had no want of it, yet I don't wish for nothing so much as to punish that fellow; for I am sure, whatever's the cause of it, he owes me a great grudge, and I know no more what it's for than you do; but he's always been doing me one spite or another ever since I knew him." Soon after tea, Miss Branghton took an opportunity to tell me, in a whisper, that the young man I saw was a lover of her sister's, that his name was Brown, and that he was a haberdasher, with many other particulars of his circumstances and family; and then she declared her utter aversion to the thoughts of such a match, but added, that her sister had no manner of spirit or ambition, though, for her part, she would 10 times rather die an old maid than marry any person but a gentleman. "And for that matter," added she, "I believe Polly herself don't care much for him, only she's in such a hurry, because I suppose she's a mind to be married before me. However, she's very welcome, for I'm sure I don't care a pin's point whether I ever marry at all, it's all one to me." Some time after this, Miss Polly contrived to tell her story. She assured me, with much tittering, that her sister was in a great fright lest she should be married first. "So I make her believe that I will," continued she, "for I dearly love to plague her a little; though, I declare, I don't intend to have Mr. Brown in reality. I'm sure I don't like him half well enough. Do you, Miss?" "It is not possible for me to judge of his merits," said I, "as I am entirely a stranger to him." "But what do you think of him, Miss?" "Why, really, I don't know." "But do you think him handsome? Some people reckon him to have a pretty good person; but I'm sure, for my part, I think he's monstrous ugly. Don't you, Miss?" "I am no judge, but I think his person is very well." "Very well! Why, pray, Miss," in a tone of vexation, "what fault can you find with it?" "Oh, none at all." "I'm sure you must be very ill natured if you could. Now there's Biddy says she thinks nothing of him, but I know it's all out of spite. You must know, Miss, it makes her as mad as can be that I should have a lover before her; but she's so proud that nobody will court her, and I often tell her she'll die an old maid. But the thing is, she has taken it into her head to have a liking for Mr. Smith, as lodges on the first floor; but, Lord, I'll never have her, for he's quite a fine gentleman; and besides, Mr. Brown heard him say one day, that he'd never marry as long as he lived, for he'd no opinion of matrimony." "And did you tell your sister this?" "Oh, to be sure, I told her directly, but she did not mind me. However, if she will be a fool, she must." This extreme want of affection and good nature increased the distaste I already felt for these unamiable sisters; and a confidence so entirely unsolicited and unnecessary, manifested equally their folly and their want of decency. I was very glad when the time for our departing arrived. Mr. Branghton said our lodgings were in Holborn, that we might be near his house, and neighbourly. He accompanied us to them himself. Our rooms are large, and not inconvenient. Our landlord is an hosier. I am sure I have 1,000 reasons to rejoice that I am so little known; for my present situation is, in every respect, very unenviable, and I would not for the world be seen by any acquaintance of Mrs. Mirvan. This morning, Madame Duval, attended by all the Branghtons, actually went to a justice in the neighbourhood, to report the Captain's ill usage of her. I had a great difficulty in excusing myself from being of the party, which would have given me very serious concern. Indeed, I was extremely anxious, though at home, till I heard the result of the application, for I dread to think of the uneasiness which such an affair would occasion the amiable Mrs. Mirvan. But, fortunately, Madame Duval has received very little encouragement to proceed in her design; for she has been informed, that as she neither heard the voice, nor saw the face of the person suspected, she will find difficulty to cast upon him conjecture, and will have but little probability of gaining her cause, unless she can procure witnesses of the transaction. Mr. Branghton, therefore, who has considered all the circumstances of the affair, is of the opinion, the lawsuit will not only be expensive, but tedious and hazardous, and has advised against it. Madame Duval, though very unwillingly, has acquiesced in his decision; but vows, that if she is ever so affronted again, she will be revenged, even if she ruins herself. I am extremely glad that this ridiculous adventure seems now likely to end without more serious consequences. Adieu, my dearest Sir. My direction is at Mr. Dawkins', a hosier in High Holborn. End of Letter 40.